Hi everyone, this is Noreen Chase, Community Manager of the Social Biz User Group. Joining me today is Femke Goedhart, an IBM Champion, an independent consultant with IBM Consulting, and also a business consultant working for Silverside, a premier IBM business partner in the Netherlands. Femke is also speaking at the upcoming ICON UK User Group Conference, scheduled for September 21st through the 22nd in London, England. And like I've done before in the previous interviews, I am going to be asking Femke about her professional background, but also have her give us a little more insight into her ICON UK sessions. So let's get started. Hi Femke, how are you today?
Hello Noreen, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for joining us and speaking to our community today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, to start with, can you give us a little information about your professional background, how you started in this space, and your role as an IBM champion?
Okay, well, I started working in IT about 15 years ago after doing a study in religious science, which is, of course, totally not related to anything IT. And I literally started on a help desk and started helping out people. And one of the things that I found was that a lot of people get tools, but don't really understand the tools that they get and don't really know how to use them to optimize their working processes. So during the years, I've developed myself through being an administrator as well as a developer to now being a business consultant for the last 7 years, in which I've been advising customers about the solutions that they can implement when it comes to things like social business or document management, and also how to make the link between the technique or the systems and what the users really need and want to do what they need to do. Because, well, IT should support the users and it shouldn't be the other way around, which is still the case in some cases. So that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years, and I really enjoy doing that. One of the specialties that I do is document management. That's an area that is very close to my heart because I feel that a lot of people don't really recognize the importance of documents and files within organizations. It's still one of the major forms of storing information that we have within our organizations. But people look at it like going like, yeah, well, it's not that hip or it's not that modern, and shouldn't we store information in other ways? So I try to make the connection there between what is possible and how you should use it and how to optimize that.
So as an independent consultant for IBM, do you find your clients a common problem amongst your clients with document management, or is it varied?
Well, a lot of people don't see it as a problem, and I totally get that. I mean, the thing is they have lots and lots of files, but they're managed in different spots because some are probably managed in document management systems or in specific applications like your invoicing system where you're keeping all your invoices in, while other information is stored on file drives and shared drives and department drives or on personal drives. And let's face it, a lot of people are still storing a big part of their informational archive and documents in their email. It's amazing how much data people still store in their email. And the big difference or the big danger there is that when one of those people goes away, that mailbox is usually deleted. And then you lose all that knowledge and all that information that was managed by that user in their mailbox. So by looking at all these different ways of how people store and manage information in files in their organization, and then trying to come up with ways to get people to share it more instead of keeping it in their personal drives or personal email, so that the rest of the organization can also profit from that knowledge and from that information, and that it's maintained for the organization as soon as somebody leaves the company.
And document management is a good segue into your ICON UK session. You are speaking at 2 sessions, and
yes.
One session you're co-presenting with Tim Clark. Zen in the art of requirements gathering. And I had interviewed Tim previously on that session. But your other session that you're presenting on, and I love the title of this, it's titled Files, Files Everywhere. Do you know where your organization's documents are? And can you say you control it when that auditor comes knocking?
Yes.
So can you give us a little more insight into that session beyond the abstract of what you hope to accomplish during this presentation?
Well, a lot of it is about what I just said about document management, which is to understand where does your organization actually store files. And it's quite amazing to find that a lot of people don't realize that a lot of their users are probably also using tools that they're not even providing. Because most of us bring iPads and iPhones into our organization or work on private laptops on the side, which means that you need some form of exchanging information that you need to do your job or to have with you. So people tend to find their own ways in doing that. And perhaps there's people using Dropbox or OneDrive from Microsoft, or files are being distributed over other mediums and mobile tools. And if you don't keep an eye on what's going on there, you might lose control of where your information is going. On the same time, if you're got an insight into where it's being stored, then you also need to offer those users the tools so that they can do that without you losing the control over it. So a big part of what this session will be about is about identifying the different forms of information tools that are used to store information in, to classify them, and to so that you can actually make that conversation with your users about what is needed, where do we want to use what situations should we use this in, and what are the rules and regulations that we want to apply to these tools. A good example is, how do you distribute your files to your external contacts? We cannot say anymore that we work mostly with the people inside our organization, because a lot of us work with a lot of people outside of the organization, either customers or partners or suppliers or other people. And you need a way to distribute information to them as well. Now, currently, most of that is probably done through email still. But things like WeTransfer, in which you can transfer big files, etc., these tools are really taking a flight, and we are seeing an uptake on that kind of tooling within the organization, because people don't even realize that sometimes your organization might already have tools for that. So my session will go definitely into those areas of identifying the different tools that are out there, how to talk about them, and then how to match them to the products that your organization might already have. And specifically for this session, I'm looking at IBM Connections a lot, which offers a lot of different ways of doing that, so that people can manage that information. And the second part of my session, or a part of that session, will also be about looking at those tools that IBM Connections offers and seeing, okay, so how do you use them then? Because IBM Connections is like a toolbox. It has so many different options and functionalities, and some functionalities overlap even. If you look at community files or personal files or library files, the CCM files, when should you use which one, and what are the limitations on that? So a big part of my session will also just go into the functionalities that IBM Connections offers to manage part of those files in a social and shared way.
So do you see your role as one of introducing new tools, evaluating the tools to be used, but also user adoption, getting the people to adapt to
Yes.
using new methods and tools, new toolboxes?
Yes, I think that is touching on one of the biggest problems that is currently still going around along when you look at IT, is that people think that tools should be self-explanatory. And I completely agree. But getting to that point of a tool being self-explanatory, well, there's very few tools that are completely self-explanatory. So you need to have somebody who can translate what a tool can do and what the label says it can do to how do I use that for my process or my work to make that work. Because even the same functionality can be used differently from one user to another user. And you just have to make that click between the technique and the actual user. And that is adoption in this case, absolutely.
That is going to be a great session, Femke. So I wish you all the best. I'm sure you're going to have a huge audience for that.
Well, I hope so.
Okay, Femke, so you told us about what you do, professionally and what you're going to be doing at Icon UK, but can you tell us a little bit about what you do in your free time when you're not working?
Okay. Well, I'm kind of a workaholic, so I do work a lot, and that leaves limited space for other things. But what I really love doing is I'm a bit of a runner, and I'm not the typical runner, so I'm not very fast. Let's say it this way, I'm very slow, but I do it and I love it and I get a lot of energy from that. And also one of the things that I do in my spare time is I am a volunteer judge for a competition of indoor percussion groups, drum corps and color guards. And I won't go into what that is because that is a session in its own, I guess, to explain. But it's just a hobby that I had as a kid. I was in a drum corps in a music band, and I was one of those girls with a flag, and I played the trumpet, and I loved doing that. And I still love seeing other kids doing that because I was never good at it, but it gave me a podium to develop myself and to learn things like working in a group and taking pride in what you do. And I love making that possible for the kids of the new generation that are standing in front of me right now and then looking at me very terrified like I was when I was looking at those judges and thinking like, oh my God, I'm never going to be good enough. And then just getting that satisfaction of actually doing it and being proud of what you do. So yeah, that's what I do in my free time, and I love doing it. I love watching the very small ones. I mean, the youngest ones start at about 3-4 years old, and they are so cute to see. But yeah, it takes some time, but it's great. It's a great hobby for me to do.
I can identify with what you're talking about because when I was in high school, a teenager in high school, I was in the high school marching band in my town, and I played the tenor saxophone in the marching band for 2 years, and then for another 2 years I was the drum major.
Yes.
Conducted. And we went to competitions where we had, people like you evaluating us on the field for our precision and all of that. But I had fun. It was such a blast. So I can imagine how much fun you're having, now doing it as a judge. Well, that was some really nice insight into what you do.
Okay.
And that's all we have time for today. Everyone, remember there's still time to register for Icon UK. I have the link in the video right here and also in the blog. Femke, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me over here.
And that's all for today, everybody. Make it a great day.
Okay, goodbye and see you at Icon UK.